Content warnings for this video game are listed in the podcast description.
And I'll see you, and you'll see me, and I'll see you in the branches that blow in the breeze. I'll see you in the trees. I'll see you in the trees. Under the sycamore tree.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Safe Room Podcast, a survival horror game club podcast. I am Rose, and with me, as always, is Grace.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good. I'm excited to talk about these two games that we did this month.
Very happy to play two games and have it go fast.
Yeah,
and
faster
just talk
than
about it.
any other games that we've played. Not by that much, but you know, it's just like 4.5 hours, and Silent Hills were like at least 6.
Yeah. So we're gonna do Nanashi no Game first.
Yeah.
And then after that we'll take a music break and then we'll do anatomy. Vamping as I pull up the information for Nanashi no Game.
It's Nanashi no Game. It means it's the nameless game or the game without a name.
Or obnoxiously on the ROM side I pulled this from Nanashi no Gameu. I'm like, fuck off.
Howsu. Yeah, it is a DS game published by Square Enix from 2008, and it's about a cursed video game and downloading games onto your DS and getting killed by it.
Yo, what if your DS was haunted and that's the game?
Yeah, and you know, it's pretty cool. That part is
pretty
really cool.
fucking cool.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say what you said. There are two kind of modes the game operates in. I guess three, but one is like a visual novel portion where you're holding your DS like a book. One is a first person segment where you're walking around environments and exploring them and running away from ghosts. And you're still holding your DS up like a book while you're doing that to get the FOV, I guess, as wide as possible. And then there is a 2D segment where you log into your fake DS and receive emails from your definitely not shady professor about updates on ghosts.
Yeah, we'll get into the professor is so funny.
And then you have the game itself, which is a kind of 2D, kind of Dragon Quest style JRPG, where you're talking to people in a town, and then as you keep playing, the game gets spookier and it's staticky, and the music becomes more distorted.
Yeah. Well, and there also start to be more like you play something in the game, and it's like you are. You know, the place that you're in the game is the same as the place you are in real life, and it's the same layout and like stuff like that. And then like things that happen in the game affect where you can go and what you can do in the other.
Yeah, because the whole thing is if you play or receive this game, you die a week later.
Yeah, it's the ring.
And then you eventually end up in the game as you later come across your friends who have perished. And some other random people, some of which were like, yeah, I kind of like this.
I'm just hanging out.
I'm just chilling. And then that's the game. There's about like 7 locations total.
Yes, yeah, it's just one location per day, basically.
Yeah, and the game is structured by day, and different locations for different days, and then different story beats, and that's kind of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's I mean, basically you team up with your professor to kind of get to the bottom of what the game is about, and I think we'll kind of, because the levels are so closely tied to like plot beats, I think we'll just kind of summarize big plot stuff or like little plot stuff as we go. But that's basically what the game is about: is you're trying to get to the bottom of the curse, and you're exploring all this stuff to do that. So when the game boots up, you are just hanging out. I have a question. Did you play as a boy or a girl? Because this is a question.
I played as girl.
Me too.
The guide I read said it didn't impact the story, but
it doesn't seem to, except that I think some of the gender, there's like that part where you're like getting married, and I think the gender of who is trying to get you to get married is different, stuff like that, and maybe some of the stuff around. I mean, we'll talk about it. Because basically you're hanging out with your bestie Riko, whose boyfriend Odaka got the game 7 days ago. And she's like, hey, can you check by his apartment and like make sure he's okay? And you go there and he's not okay. He's fucking dead.
He's dead.
And you kind of, you explore his apartment, and it's like a little creepy, just a little, yeah, I mean, that's sort of the thing. It's like there's kind of it's a little bit like Silent Hill in this way that's just like you go to a place and it's like a normal place, but it's like abandoned or sort of like...
and there's a bunch of doors that you can't open.
Yes, yeah, and you gotta just figure out how to like navigate through that. And so this first one is like mood setting. There's not any enemies or anything or ways to get got, as there will be later, right? And then day 2, Riko is like on the subway, and all of a sudden, things get dark and weird, and she hears Odaka's voice and tries to follow it and gets killed by the game, by Odaka's ghost. And there's some stuff about like, she's like, oh, like you were in love with the player character actually, and and didn't tell me, and like nothing occurred between the player character and Odaka, but there's sort of like a drama about that.
I wonder what that is if you choose the other gender.
Right. I mean, I guess I imagine it's sort of a similar thing. It's just like, oh, I was actually in love with the player character, right?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
And then Odaka's like, I'm killing you for revenge, or whatever,
Probably.
Something like that. Yeah, I mean, I think that stuff is... I mean, the subway thing is good because it's just like you walk through the train cars and there's like too many of them. You're like, I should have gotten to the end of the train by now, and like, I will say though that the format for the first person segments is a little weird because I mean, maybe this is because I played it on my 2DS, which is quite long.
Yeah,
and so
that's true.
So I kind of had to like hold it in this weird way that kind of hurt my hand, and like luckily the segments aren't too long, right? But I was like,
I was hurting by the end of the game, to be honest with you.
No, I think that's fair. I was able to kind of like figure it out, and you played it on like a 2DS XL, right?
Yeah, 3DS XL.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah. So and that's pretty big too. It's but you do maybe have a little bit more. But yeah, my hand wasn't too bad, but there were definitely times where I was like, this is not the most comfortable I've ever been playing a video game.
Wait, do you have a 2DS or a 2DS XL?
2DS.
Oh, so like the Wedge?
Yes, the wedge. I have the cheese wedge.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I was like kind of making an L shape with my hand and holding it like that, and just holding that for too long.
That actually sounds
was
awful.
Yeah.
That
I mean, it
sounds
wasn't,
so
you know,
bad.
it was like not that painful, but I was uncomfortable, and sometimes had to be like, all right, I got to stop for, you know, a few minutes, and do some
Yeah.
stretches so my hand will be okay.
No, same. I played on 3DS XL, which is probably considerably bigger than a normal DS.
Mhm.
I assume it'd be a little more comfier on an actual DS, but it was fine-ish. It was
Yeah.
fine. The thing is, with the horizontal sort of look, it's better for just like visual novel stuff and not
Yeah.
walking first person
Well, that's
stuff.
also the thing is like you move with the stylus, you like
With
point
the
at the center of the
stylus.
screen.
But then
But
to
then
run, you have to do
yes,
the D-pad and the stylus, and
right.
that is the thing that I'm like, I hate
Yeah, so I
this.
ended up using the circle pad because that was closer to my hand, and so I didn't have to
Yes.
stretch, right? And then that helped a lot once I sort of was like, okay,
That did not help a
you
lot for
know,
me because they're right next to each other.
right? Yeah. Well, yeah, just it's a different configuration on your thing. So, ugh. um, yeah, and so that stuff is like I don't know, it's a little clumsy, but I do think I mean this is kind of the hospital. So basically, you go to the professor, and the professor's just like, "Oh, I'm just very interested in this because I'm a professor, and I have no motivations otherwise.
And
Could
he's
you
also
please go to
like,
the hospital?"
and he's also like, yeah, I also, I have connections with the cops for some reason.
Yeah,
They just
I
like
guess.
let him in and do shit.
Yeah, well, he's like an IT guy, or like some like information technology kind of thing. I guess I don't. So I guess I could see the connection there, but it is odd.
Hmm.
And so you figure out like the location from which you all downloaded the file is like this abandoned hospital, and so you go and you're just trying to find any relevant information. And then in the game, so you as you're moving to the hospital, you keep getting like download notifications for the
Hmm.
video game, and you meet Rico, who is like, "It's all your fault that I'm dead," and her ghost shows up and tries to eat you and
Yep.
stuff. And I think, I think first the game stuff is good because it's such a familiar language. Like it's just, yeah, it's like
Yes.
Dragon Quest stuff.
Yep.
And that it's just like, it's weird. And so that's like, it's just very, it's like an easy horror trick, right?
Yeah.
To be like, here's just something familiar with, and that you have all these expectations around, and here's like how we're gonna like, do something with that, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's
I
totally
like I
effective.
like I like the song a lot. The
Yeah,
song
the
that
song
plays is
is
good.
really good. That's true. Yeah, all the game soundtrack stuff is I think pretty cool.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, and I also think so in the hospitals where you have this first kind of moment where because basically you go and you find the file and you're like, oh, there was this game developer who was in this hospital, right? For some reason. And so, and then that's when the ghost shows up, and you have to basically like,
I thought it was like the
oh,
messages
you're
from the
right.
game are transmitted from the hospital.
Yes, that is correct.
And
Yeah.
then from there you find the name of the developer, which is Urasoft. But yeah, because you go there because messages are being transmitted from there, and then you
Yeah.
run into ghosts.
Right.
Who would
And
have thought?
who would have thought?
And the
Just
guy's like, "Hey, can you go to this hospital alone for me?"
yeah. He keeps the whole game is you being like totally chill going to like obviously haunted places with
Yes.
like nothing like you're just it's chill.
Yeah, and your professor, who is a grown ass adult and has connections to the cops, is just like, "So you're cool with going, right?"
And he just emails you useless shit constantly. It's very funny. I thought this level, the hospital, there's a part basically where the ghost shows up and then you have to like run back through the level
Yep.
with the ghost behind you. And there's no combat in this game. So you just have to like know the layout. And I thought that was such a smart, like, you go through the area first and it's like creepy, and then you have to go back through it with all that recontextualized, and you have to just move quickly and like know where things are so you don't get like tripped up. And there's like, I mean, again, it's really awkward. Like, it's not like perfect, but I thought that was such a smart utilization of like the basic tools, you know. And it's pretty scary. Like, you know, at least before you sort of get the hang of it, it's like, oh shit, like this guy's gonna eat me, and if I get eaten, then I have to like do all this shit again, and my hand hurts. And so there's like, it does have this kind of like pressure cooker thing, you know, that I thought was pretty nice.
Yeah. There's that one part, I think it's in the hospital, where you have to like, where you like see a ghost and you have to go back in the previous room.
Yes.
And then pull out your DS and then wait for the static to go away.
Yeah.
And then they don't do that mechanic ever again.
No, I think I did. I was like, heard a ghostly voice or something, and then pulled it up, and because there's a screen with the bench that shows up over and over again, and that becomes important later, right? Yeah. And it didn't see any static, so I was like, oh, there's not a ghost here. But that was like the one time that came in handy. I really thought there was going to be more stuff there.
Yeah, I needed a guide for that part, because I was like, I don't know what to do. And then you just need to pull out the game.
Yeah.
To get rid of that ghost.
Yeah, and then you go to the developer's office, which is conveniently in a spooky mall.
Yep.
You know? And basically you go there and you find, you know, this... Oh, because that's also cool, because, like, the professor calls in and it's like, oh, you have an appointment. And then you get there, like, nobody's here, right? Like, that stuff is cool. Like, that's an instance where he's not just setting you into a death trap. He's just like, yeah, you just go to the mall, and there's, like, you know, there's... the game dev is there.
And then meanwhile, like, it's on floor 4, and each floor has a separate ghost that's trying to kill you.
Yes, yeah.
And then the guy's like, they'll be there for your appointment.
Yeah. So you go there, and it turns out the company has gone bankrupt, you know, and you find some like paperwork about like who was working on the game, right? Yeah. And that's, you know,
you find a memo that's like, hey, I wrote this music part for the game, isn't it cool? I'm like, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, also when you meet, there's like, you might be in this part, at some point you like talk to all the developers who are dead and inside the game. And the composer's just like, now I can listen to this song forever. Just enjoying my music. Yeah, is this also... I'm trying to remember like what happens in the game in this level. Is this like the wedding sequence stuff?
That might be later.
Okay. No, I think it is, because the next one is then the like household stuff that is like the crux of the plot of the game.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it is. It's like you go and there's like a special place for people to get married, but then like the bride dies and you wake up and there's this man trying to get you to marry him, and you have to like dodge him around you have to like navigate. You have to like memorize his route basically, and so you can like move around it and get outside of the town before he gets you.
Yeah.
Maybe this is earlier, but
this might be earlier.
Yeah.
I think
you talked after this.
Yeah, I think you talked to developers in this one.
Yeah.
By the way, we glazed over the fact that there's a 2D sequence where you have to run away from a guy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's like one of the first, like, and yeah, the thing is the game kind of drops this, but like the first bit of the game is kind of about like heterosexuality is rough, man. Like, you know, because you're just like, oh, you have this girlfriend who's like chill with you, but actually she's like harping all the secret jealousy, and there's all this like weird navigating that stuff, and then there's like this whole sequence where it's like marriage is this like dread, you know, this thing that like someone is trying to coerce you into, and like, you know, in this like violent way, and you have to like restart the section of the game every time the guy gets you and stuff. And so it's like, and then the game's not really about that at all. But I thought that was sort of an interesting like thread of it. And especially since it's like, I mean, this is like Silent Hill as well, just in that it's like you're going to all these kind of domestic or like normal places, relatively speaking, that are then, this is horror, I guess, generally, but, that's part of it. So then you go to a house, which is where the...
Oh, sorry. The
go ahead.
2D segment for the the spooky mall is, I think it's one of the first times where you see your lady friend, and she is jealous at you.
Yes, and she's like, "This is all your fault." Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it is that sequence because there's all the statues.
Yep.
In a row, right?
Yep.
Okay, and then you like talk to each one, and some of them are like developers or whatever.
I love this.
And then, yeah. I'm having a great time.
I'm glad I played the game, honestly. This is chill. That one cracked me the fuck up. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. That's right. And I also think it's good when you talk to Rico and then she just keeps saying it's all your fault, and the game gets like more staticky and then it like cuts, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I also like the way when you're playing the 2D games, just the way the game like garbles the sprites in the background as a way to like make it appear staticky. I like that. That was a good touch.
Oh, it's really cool. So yeah, then you go to this house where Ikuta, who's the game's creative director, lives, and basically.
Oh, we should mention, by the way, there's one specific memo, or I guess a couple, in the game developer segment that alludes to like labor practice stuff.
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah.
And that'll come up later.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's about to come up right now. So basically you explore the house, and then at a certain point the game activates, and you're playing as, like, Akuta's daughter, and it's in this, like, sprite version, the sort of, like, 2D version of the house, and you, basically, you're, like, your dad works all these late nights, he's never around, right? And it's because he's, like, working at this game company, And then your mom gets murdered by one of the other developers for kind of unclear reasons. Like, I don't really know why this guy does this.
But he's got cool shades while he's doing it.
Yeah. Well, it's good when you, like... It's really cool when, like, the sprite leaves the house, right? And then you come back and you play as the little girl. And, like, the screen, the, like, frame of view is a little bit lower. And you're moving through all the same rooms, and then you walk into the room that your character is in right now, and there's this guy there who's covered in blood and stuff. Like, it's creepy. It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's basically like, okay, so you're starting to figure out this is the reason for the curse, is that her dad was never around and he was working on this game, and so she like cursed it and is like killing, and anybody who is involved with or like plays the game gets, got by this curse. Because her dad wasn't around and my mom died because of this and yada yada yada. So it's like the game is about crunch.
And then you have to run away from your mother's killer, or I guess you're playing as the daughter. You have to run away from the killer.
Yeah.
In probably the least forgiving chase sequence in the game.
Well, because each time you enter the room, he's there already.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's like pretty. Did you die a lot in this segment? I don't think I died.
I did a couple times. The game is, to its credit, pretty mindful that you're playing on a Nintendo DS for what it is.
Yeah.
And gives you some time to turn and move and stuff.
Right.
But I did die a couple times of that because there are ones where he's just very close to the door.
Yes, yeah.
The first time I didn't realize that I had to run. I thought it was still in a cutscene, and he just killed me.
Oh no!
Yeah. But yeah, this is the one where I died the most, for sure.
Yeah, I died a bunch, generally. But...
I
this
died
segment for
once
whatever
in the
reason.
hospital because I was trying to open a door that I couldn't open,
Oh yeah.
but I couldn't like back out of the prompt because if you click on the D-pad again, it just does the prompt again.
Oh no.
And so I kept being like, why isn't it exiting out of the prompt? And then the fucking ghost came up behind me and killed me. It
Oh
was pretty good.
Well, there you go, man. It's a pretty silly game, you know. But yeah, so then you're like, oh, the daughter is like was, you know, staying in this hotel after.
Yeah, she escapes out the window and then
Yeah.
goes to a
Right.
hotel.
Mm-hmm. And you go there just trying to figure out like. Oh, also when you're in the house, sorry, this is important. I forgot. You find the dad. You find Okuta, and he's just like kind of out of it.
Yep, he's hiding in the closet.
Yeah. So it's important that he's alive. He's around. Anyway, so you go to the hospital. Your professor continues to be like normal. And he's like, I'm so late. Also, okay, the thing that drives me nuts about when you go to the hotel, is that you just start the level and you're just walking through this tunnel. And I'm like, do you not have a car? Or like is there like a train? Like there's you, and you walk by a bus stop. And I'm like, why didn't you just take the bus to the bus stop? What is like, I know why. Oh, I do think it's cool when you're on the way to the hotel on the road and you see that light in the distance. And you're like, what's that light? And you go up and it's just this like mannequin of a like traffic officer, like holding a beacon, you know, and there's like a little barrier up that just says like these mannequins and stuff. That's cute.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically you go to the hotel and you find the daughter's Asashi's dead body, Asahi, and there's also a cool part where like you are trapped by a ghost and then the professor shows up in the video game and blocks him off, like his little sprite.
Yes.
And then you can like walk around and escape. Like that's so that's the reveal that the professor's been playing the game this whole time, or has access to the game. Yeah,
he has access. He received the game but didn't play it because
yeah,
you have the game, and he was like, well.
I'm a professor, so I just want to observe what happens if I don't play it. It's very funny that I think it's like before this, because kind of in between each day, you like go back to the professor and he's like, here's what I've learned, and like, here's the next place you should go. And him being like, I'm just curious what would happen if someone had the game but didn't play it. I wonder, do you have any ideas?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so then you leave the hotel and you're supposed to go meet him out there, but he's a ghost now because he's dead, so you have to run away from him. And you go to the lighthouse, which is the final level.
Yeah.
And yeah, and you find out that she committed suicide jumping off the top of the lighthouse. And this is also the cliff. You know, there's a cliff nearby that's like the cliff that keeps showing up in the game. And basically, the game, there's like 3 minutes, and so you have to run through this little environment and like talk to these statues and embrace the ghosts that are in them.
In a segment that the game does not explain at all.
No, well, that's also, yeah, because I had to look this up. I mean, you know, I had to walk through up for a bunch of the game, but this was also because it's like very counterintuitive, because the whole game, it's like if a ghost touches you, you're dead, like you're gone.
Yes.
And so this part where it's like, now you have to touch the ghosts was very like,
okay,
I don't know what's going on.
And the only instruction you get is like, it's about to be dusk, and I'm like, okay. And then the timer shows up, and I'm like, okay.
Okay. Yeah, no.
What do I do?
And it is just like a path. Like there is just like it's not like a maze or anything, right?
No. But what I did do was run
tries.
down to the bottom of the path and was like, okay, now what?
Yeah. Well, yes, that's what you would do, right? Yeah. Anyway. So basically when you do this, you like give all the spirits like peace, and
Yeah.
then
They all exposit dialogue about the game.
yeah, and they're like, you know what, I forgive you for wanting to suck my boyfriend's dick, or I love, whatever, just like even the murderer, the mom's
The
murderer gets
murder.
sort of a
Oh
beat
my god.
where it's like
This is okay. God.
I don't know.
This is a part of the game where everybody is like, he was just crunching and just making the game because he loves his daughter and he was making the game for his daughter.
Well, yeah, there's sort of a weird, like, the timeline on some of this is a little fuzzy because it's like the mom dies and then it's like, she's living with him for some period of time. And he's like, I want to make this game to show her how much I love her, which means I'm not, like, around at all. Like, it's very, because this is the only way I can, like, express this or something.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yeah, and so everybody's like, we gotta tell her, that he actually was away because he loved her.
Yeah.
And then you get to the killer, the dude who fucking killed a human being, and he was like, yeah, I guess I was kind of jealous. and
Yeah,
and
he's like
we had to do long hours, and I guess I was just jealous of what this guy had.
right.
Throwing my DS across the screen, across the room, just like, no.
Yeah, it's just kind of hard to like. I mean, I think this is like we'll kind of get into it. I think this is the ultimate weakness of the game is that the like thematic stuff is so flat and kind of like tepid and obviously really silly. Whereas like a lot of the formal tricks are so clever. Like that's really the thing that kind of sustains you through it, right? Is that it's like the interplay between the game and the like first person segments and the sort of like I like literally like shouted yes the first time like the DS menu screen shows up, which is just like an exact replication of the the DS members menu screen. Although you can get emails, I don't think you could get emails on your Nintendo DS.
I don't think so.
But so that I just thought that stuff was like great. I thought that was amazing. And that's sort of the thing that sustains you, whereas like all the story stuff is like pretty thinly written, and this whole last segment is just kind of like, okay, yeah, like anyway. So then the dad shows up and he's like, I really made the game because I love you, and she's like, okay, cool, I can go to heaven now. And he's like, well, I have to live with all the things that I've done, but I guess it's cool that my daughter has rest now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's like, I'm gonna complete the game to make amends to the way I treated my family. Just a solution to everything. It's been like, yeah. I'm gonna make this game.
The way that the daughter is just like, yeah, she's like, I'm never gonna forgive him, and then he shows up, and she's like, okay, I forgive you.
Okay, I forgive you. Well, I mean, there are two endings.
They're not that different.
No, because all that happens.
One adds like a CG cutscene of her floating away or whatever.
Yes, and then you get an email from her where she's like, "Thanks, Jack. Yeah. Thank you."
Then the way you get this is like picking up random items in the 2D segments.
Yeah, and it's like a little, that stuff is also kind of like, because there's some memos in the developer office that are like, what if we had these items in the game, we put them in like specific places? But if you're playing it without a guide, I think it would be maybe not tough, because you could just find them coincidentally. It's not if you're looking around, but it's also like you can't go back and get stuff, right? So it's like if you accidentally trigger the thing that ends the segment before you got the item, then it's like you would have to restart the day to get it, which is whatever. Yeah, so it adds a CG cutscene, and their curse has been broken. And the bad ending is like it implies that you've sent the curse on to somebody else, so that the game is still continuing to do its work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, oh well, do you want to reveal this about the soundtrack?
Oh yeah, it was composed by Soken, the Final Fantasy 14 composer,
Yeah.
which is like me playing this game. I'm like, oh, this fake Final Fantasy song is pretty good. And I'm like, oh, okay,
Yep.
it's just a
It's
guy who makes Final Fantasy music.
yeah. Also, this game
Even
has.
though the
Oh
like
god.
fake composer in this game definitely reads as a fuck name.
Uh, the Umatsu or.
Sorry, Yoko Shimomura. I definitely read it
Ooh.
as a Yoko Shimomura stand-in because she's
Mm.
also like the only woman on the
Oh
dev
right.
team.
Yes. Yeah.
So
That's
it's
true.
just like, all right, who at Square Enix is a woman, you know?
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Um.
That's the
Also,
game.
there's
I don't know if I have a lot else to say about it.
yeah. Well, that's the thing is, it's kind of. I really just think it's like the, if you're like listening to this podcast and didn't play it, and you're like, should I play this? I guess I would say like, if that formal stuff sounds interesting to you and you think you would get something out of that, definitely, 100%.
Yeah,
If you're not interested in that, do not bother. Right.
yeah.
And also there's like LPs of it, right? So if you just want to get a taste of it and see like how does this work exactly outside of like an audio format, you could definitely do that. It's cool. Like I think it's an interesting object and I'm glad we played it. And I think it's also like I'm glad we played both these games after The Room. Because I feel like they are playing in a similar kind of space, right? There's obviously kind of like a found footagey element to this game, especially since like Ring is obviously a touchstone
Yeah.
for this.
And also, like
So
The Room, it definitely feels ahead of its time in the format. Definitely
yeah,
called the shot of like games are gonna be about evading ghosts in first person. You
yeah,
know?
yeah. What it does the like I forget what the Amnesia developers are, but it does that thing where it's like you don't have any tools to fight the monsters against. It's just about like your mastery of the environment that
Yeah,
helps
for
you
sure.
evade them, right?
Yeah.
And I think that stuff is well drawn, even though it's a little clumsy and does get like there's just not a lot. There's not that much to it, right? And so like after you play the hospital, you do kind of have a sense of like what the rest of the game is going to look like and be,
Yeah.
And so I think it just depends on like how far that stuff is going to go for you in terms of your enjoyment. But I think it's a really interesting object, and I think it's something that like it also I think it looks great. Like
Yeah.
the weak spot is I think the visual novel art stuff, which is just kind of like here's like a kind of odd looking anime man who's telling you about how it's plausible that this is a ghost actually, and then but the first person segments are really nice, I guess I will also we didn't really talk about this that there's a lot of jump scares in this game. And most of them kind of fell flat for me.
Yeah, because it's just like generic ghost base, you know?
Yeah. It's just like, here's a guy,
Yeah.
whatever, and, it's fine. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about it. Have you got anything else on this?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. The meta layer of it is really fun. Just the first time that that the character pulls out their DS and it's just a DS interface.
Yeah, it's good.
It's so good.
Yeah, I'm interested in. So there's actually a bunch of sequels. There was like a iPhone game. There are 2 DSiWare titles apparently. But the sequel is called so Nanashi no Game Me. So Nameless Game I. Right, and there's 2 cursed games, an RPG and a platformer, and then like the title refers to the protagonist's left eye represented by the left screen of the DS, which when held sideways allows the player to see things hidden by the curse. That's cool.
That's cool.
That's pretty cool. So I think it's games like this are like it's just neat to have, and I think such like having a DS, which is such a weird object, I guess, and like seeing people play around with like what you can do with this particular kind of thing. And I feel like that's also rare these days, where it's like how games work has been kind of standardized across devices, which, is good in some ways and bad in others. So. Yeah. Well, we'll take a little music break and then we'll talk about anatomy.
This is the keyboard that all the major themes were created for Twin Peaks. It's an old Fender Rhodes and kind of beat up. And David would sit right over here, right to the right of me, and we would put a little cassette just about over here on this keyboard, just keep it in record and just keep it playing. David would sit here and I'd say, well, what do you see, David? Just talk to me. And David would say, okay, Angelo, we're in a dark woods now. And there's a soft wind blowing through some sycamore trees. And there's a moon out and there's some animal sounds in the background. And you can hear the hoot of an owl, and you're in the dark woods. Just get me into that beautiful darkness with the soft wind. And I started playing. And David would say, Angelo, that's great. I love that. That's a good mood. But can you play it slower? And I'd say, slower, David? Okay. And I'd go. He says, that's it. That's a good tempo. Just keep it going slow like that. Just keep that going for a while. And in David's mind, you can just see that he was visualizing the description that he envisioned. Then he would say, okay, Angelo, now we got to make a change, because from behind a tree in the back of the woods, there's this very lonely girl. Her name is Laura Palmer, and it's very sad, but get something that matches her. And I just segued into this. And he'd say, well, that's it. It's very beautiful. I could see her. And she's walking towards the camera and she's coming closer. Just keep building it. Just keep building it. And she's getting close. Now reach some kind of climax. And I would go, and he said, oh, that's it. Oh, that's so beautiful. Angelo, oh, that's tearing my heart out. I love that. Just keep that going. Now she's starting to leave. So fall down. Keep falling. Keep falling. Keep falling. Now go back into the dark woods. That's it. Keep going. Just keep it going. Very quiet and mysterious. David got up, he gave me a big hug. He said, Angelo, that's Twin Peaks. I said, okay, David, I'll go home and I'll work on it. He said, Angelo, don't do a thing and don't change a signal note. I see Twin Peaks.
All right, so we're back and we're talking about Anatomy, which is a when did this come out? 2014?
16.
16?
Yes.
God.
The
horror
mid
game.
2010s, it's it's like a blob. But you look up Anatomy and it's a bunch of like games cred from 2016.
Oh yeah, well, there's a kill screen quote that's on the fucking itch page.
Yeah, the itch
You
page is
know?
definitely a screenshot in time. We got
Yeah.
fucking Zam.com over here.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh god. Yeah. R.I.P. Cool Ghosts. Also.
yeah.
Which was it's a video game channel from the Shut Up and Sit Down people that had like a good run, and there's all that stuff is still up on YouTube, but there's just not a website anymore.
Does Zam go anywhere? Absolutely not.
Nothing. Let's.
No.
It's fine.
Is great. I'm thankful for this page.
Yeah. So by Kittyhorrorshow, who does kind of first person horror games, and is still active, and releases stuff regularly. I think she has a Patreon where you can donate and you get stuff as they get developed and come out. And then you can also download stuff later. So I'd actually like to catch up. There's like a whole bunch of stuff that I haven't really touched.
Yeah. I didn't realize it was still active. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think I looked up, I was looking at the Patreon before we recorded, and I think the last post was in October.
October 2nd of this year. Damn.
Yeah. So,
Cool.
like fairly regularly.
Okay. I saw that she wasn't active on Twitter, which is fair.
Yeah.
But assume that meant that she wasn't making stuff. But
Yeah.
that is good. That is good to hear. Which, if you're meeting all your Patreon goals, why even bother, right?
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, like she's making like a grand $500 on Patreon every month. Like, yeah, you can just fuck off. Like,
if I had
you
just like
did
a
the thing.
good, if I had a good stable following and didn't need to be on Twitter as an artist, fuck yeah, get off
Yeah.
that shit. You know?
Yeah, totally. But yeah, this is a horror game. It's about exploring a bare house and getting cassette tapes and listening to the things that they say.
Not like an ant. Like the house is abandoned.
Yes.
It's not like
Well,
a
it's
bare
also-
house.
Well, yes, there's furniture and stuff, but it is kind of like it's very flat looking. All you know what I mean? Like it's very sort of like stretched out, and like I feel like a lot of homes can get really like busy and cluttered, and this is like so austere. There's like so little that is not everything in the room. There's like a table, and chairs in the dining room, and like a cabinet, but that's it. There's like there's no like pens on the table or anything like that, right? It's very sort of, and part of that is sort of the kind of lo-fi look of it, but I do feel like that sheerness is part of the
Yes, for sure.
aesthetic level. So that's what I meant by bare, not as in like it has been, there's no items there, right?
Oh, I was just thinking of like an actual like bear, like an animal bear.
Oh, right.
house.
That's, I'm sure it's, homophones or whatever they're called. Gonna get you. Yeah, and basically it's kind of the first segment, and you basically do this repeated times, and you get like multiple endings kind of. Each time you open the game, it does sort of a similar thing, but it's a little different. And the first round of it is you're listening to this, like, it's not really known like who this is or what the voice is. If this is a
Very
voice.
professor sounding.
Yes,
you know?
yeah. Like just talking about like the house as sort of a body metaphorically, and how that like relates to the human psyche. And then, the house has a will of its own, and that's, or seems to, and that's sort of the implicit thing that you're kind of delving deeper into this like house that has its own psychology and own motivations that you're trying to like tap into in some way.
Mm-hmm. As just like the metaphor for the human body,
Yeah.
etc. each room has a function, and you go you collect these tapes, and each at the end of each tape is like it'll bring up like the bathroom as a function of taking a dump,
Yes, yeah.
or the basement as like the darker secrets of
Yeah, the
the human
subconscious.
psyche. Yeah. And then the game will say the next tape is here.
Yeah. Well,
And then
I really love the phrasing of it, that it's like there is a tape in the master bedroom, right? Like that's sort of like certainty, and like that kind of like I don't know. There's something that's deeply creepy about that to me, because especially since it's like not clear what that text like represents in game terms, right? So it's like you just know that there's a tape in the house again. And it also gives
Yeah.
you that sensation of like, I was there earlier, or like the door was locked and now it's
Right.
unlocked and I can go in and there's a tape there, right? There's sort of like something is up in the house that I am not controlling, right?
all the part later in the game where it just says all the doors are unlocked.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, well, I love that, and it's also so cool the way it kind of like tutorializes you into like understanding the rhythm, because like
Yeah.
by the third time it's like you're getting the cassette tapes, and they're all kind of in the same order that you did it
Yeah.
before, and you
Yep.
just like know how to do it.
You
know that
just have
rhythm
to
of it now.
intuit where it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that stuff is like it's really smart.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also
But
think.
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. You first.
I was just gonna say, I think this is for my money the scariest game that we've played, or at least it's
Yes.
the one that freaked me out the most.
Yes. Which is like nothing really happens in the game, but it's
No.
still like part of it is also like the house is so empty, but also like your draw distance is like 0.
Yeah.
You like go to the
So-
basement and you barely see any of the fucking room.
Yeah, well, I
without
love
needing,
that. Yeah, well, I love that, like, because there's that line where the professor voice is like talking about like looking into the basement and seeing nothing,
Yeah.
and then you go to and you just look down the stairs and there's just blackness. There's just nothing down there, right?
Yeah.
And so like, and I think that's also the thing is like this is a game. Like a lot of games are about exploring a space and getting an audio log, but
Yeah.
there is such a like rich interplay between those things in this.
Yep.
That like it just draws a lot more out of that space than a lot of I think similar kinds of games do.
For sure. But yeah, as the game progresses, it gets more fucked up as you
Yes, yeah.
you would think. I love this is definitely one of these games that just uses crash the desktop.
Yes,
as
but
a,
it's so
as a
good.
method for delivering scares. The first one is like when you go to the master bedroom, and the
And
end
there's
of
the
the
tape recorder on the wall.
They've recorded on
which
the
is-
wall, and the
yeah.
last thing it says is like about like the house eating you or something. And the
Well,
game
it's
just like
it's so good because it's like the bedroom is a mouth. Right,
Yes.
that's really, and it's like the place because it's the place in the house that can most betray you, and it's like because you're asleep, you're unconscious in it. It's this place anyway. It's so, and then it's like, it's a mouth and it can close on you,
Yeah.
and then the game hard crashes.
yeah,
And that's like, yeah, it's just really like it's
is.
direct, right? But it's so artful. Yeah. And that's sort of the thing is, yeah. And you have to like, you reopen the game and it starts, sometimes from the same place, right? You like open, it's the same shot and you're doing the same thing, but now the tapes are distorted or stuff in, the house.
sorry, I have to read. I just have to read it.
Go ahead.
It is here that the house is most likely to betray us. It is here that we place ourselves most at the house's mercy and spend each night hoping that it will not bite down.
Yes.
Crash to desktop. It's so
Oh,
good.
it's really good.
Ugh.
Oh,
Anyway,
yeah, it's just
sorry I
freaky.
interrupted.
Oh no, you're good. It's worth. I think it is worth, and I think that's the thing is just the way that like each audio thing feels so. Again, like interplaying with the stuff you're doing in the space, right? That it's not because it's sort of like when you put on an audio log in like BioShock, it's like, oh, I'm listening to a podcast, basically, right? And I'm like walking around, and it's like kind of related to what's happening, but not like super directly. And this stuff just has this like really like it is assuming you're listening to the tape and you're in this place. And there's also such a physicality to it that you put the tape into the thing and you hear it winding, and then if you like move away from it, you can't hear it, and stuff like that. I think just gives it this presence that is so nice, and scary. Yeah, I mean, I think that's sort of the progression. I really like also just the like eventually things start like flickering in and out, or you'll find tapes like floating in the air, things like that, right?
The second one where you go to the basement and the game shuts off. Oh my god.
Yeah. Is this? Yeah. Ugh. Well, I really like when the like. Yeah, just the last, because basically, the house gets like more and more fucked up.
Yep.
And there's one point you have to go down into the basement. I think this is the third time you open the game. And you go down into the basement, and all of a sudden, like all this like these veins are like light, like almost lightning shows up, and the voice from the tape recorder. And this is also one of the cool things is I love the ambiguity of the voice, and I think this is also such a video. It like leans into the sort of video gaminess of it because the narrative is so not literal. Right? Like I was almost like imagining like that. I don't mean this entirely derisively, but like the A24 version of this where it's like about a woman living in a house who like records things but then starts finding tapes that she didn't record or like whatever, right? There's sort of a more literal story to it. And I think the way that it deliberately eschews that, right? That it's just like you are in this house, you're an intruder, right? And that stuff is so like it's just really cool and it's really evocative, right? There's that part in the second time you play it where there's like the story of the man, like she pushes the man down the stairs and then hears the house eating it.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah. And feels the teeth in, so there's sort of like, is this person the house? Was she someone else and then became the house, right? That kind of stuff.
Yep. And then,
but
the part with the veins where, the voice comes in and just tells you like, your purpose was to listen, and I don't. Each time you've just like been poking and prodding,
right?
It's really good.
Yeah, and like every room is a mouth, right?
Yeah.
And then you like almost hear the house like starting to creak in on you, and it cuts again. Like that is just like
Is that where the teeth start spawning, or is that later?
Oh, I don't know.
There's a part where teeth, like you're in a room and teeth start showing up.
Oof.
Yeah.
There is like the first time you're in. I also love how the art on the wall changes depending on what the text is talking about. Because the first time you go into the master bedroom where it talks about the bedroom being a mouth and stuff, it has all these like teeth, like dental diagrams on the walls and stuff. And then the next time you go in, it's sort of like. It's art of like a little gremlin guy, like sitting on, which is like a genre of like romantic painting. There's like a few Goyas that do this, right? Where it's like a little gremlin sitting on a sleeping gal,
Yeah. Those, the tapes you can listen to in one of the bedrooms, where the first time it's like a prayer.
Oh,
very like distorted and fucked up, and then it shuts off, and then like the second time it's like a looping scream that never stops.
Yeah, that never stops.
And you hear it from the other rooms.
Yes, it's so good. The like because that's how the progression of the game works, right? Is that you listen to a tape and then it stops, and sometimes it is just like noise or like gibberish and you can't understand it, right? And so when you put that tape in, you're like, okay, this is screaming and this is upsetting, but it's gonna stop in like 5 or 6 seconds, right? And I move on and get the next thing, and it just doesn't. It doesn't stop. And in fact, I'm sure you don't have to put the tape in. Like that's optional, like it's just That stuff is
no,
good.
I don't think it's even a tape. It's just a recorder that you hit
Oh,
play on
yeah.
in the environment.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until like way too late that I was like, oh, it's just not gonna stop. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's good. It's scary.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think this game just really. I was wondering if because I played this. I don't know. When did I play this? I think I assumed it was a little like 2019, maybe. And basically, I was like, I think I had like come out on Twitter like 2 months before I played it, and so I was, I wrote a thing about it at the time that I reread and I think is fine. About the game being about like dysphoria and kind of like the idea that like your body is something that is unchanging or sort of has a will of its own that you can't like dictate, and that it's going to like eat you right, or sort of consume the thing that is you in some way, but that it's very like I mean kind of that it's like very, I mean I kind of argue basically it's cathartic in this way because it's just like very honestly confronts that terror and the truth in that terror, and then kind of at the end of it I felt seen and relieved. And I think that's I don't think that's a bad read on it at all, but I do think there's a lot happening in the game. There's a lot about like domesticity as well, right? And about like sort of the things that a house can carry with it because of the people that were there, right? That now become like unrecognizable because the people who live there are gone and have been gone for forever, basically, right? And,
the ending
that
of this
kind of
game is you open the game one more time and you see the cassette tape, and it has a monologue about what happens to a house when it's left alone.
What happens to a house when it is left alone? When it becomes worn and aged? When its paint peels and its foundations begin to sink? When it goes for too long unlived in? What does it think of? What does it dream? How does it regard those creatures who built it, brought it into existence only to abandon it when its usefulness no longer satisfies them? It may grow lonesome. It may stare for long hours into the darkness of its own empty halls and see shadows, and its heart may jump as it thinks, here's someone again, I'm not alone. And each time it is wrong, and the hurt starts over. It may haunt itself, inventing ghosts to walk its floors, making friends with its shadow puppets, laughing and whispering to itself at the end of some quiet cul-de-sac. It may grow angry. Its basement may fill with churning acid like an empty stomach, and its gorge may rise as it asks itself through clenched teeth, what did I do wrong? It may grow bitter. It may grow hungry. So hungry and so bitter that its scruples dissolve and its doors unlock themselves. While a house may hunger, it cannot starve. And so, in fever and anger and loneliness, it may simply lie in wait. Doors open. Shades drawn. Hallways empty. Hungry.
That shit made me cry. So
yeah,
it's
well,
really
it's quite
good.
and I think it's cool that like it makes the move that like I think a lot of horror kind of encourages us to make, where it's like, oh, like, I mean, sympathy for the devil kind of stuff, right? Where it's like, you know, I mean, I don't mean this in a derisive way again, but like Freddy is a queer icon or whatever, right? That instinct to do that, and just kind of incorporates it into the fabric of its emotional, you know, there's not really, like, it's not that there's not something to read in there, but that it's just very like, oh, this like thing that is this creature that's like alien or like whatever is frightening, has all these feelings and has all this, you know, and that's sort of the thing is like the way the game is about the player being the intruder and being like, and I don't mean that like a cheap meta way, but just sort of in the like, what the game is sort of exploring is like the creature is almost the house is acting in self-defense, right, in some sense, or sort of like, you know, I think it just gives it a lot of like emotionality that kind of feels woven and expands out throughout the whole thing. I was just thinking about you didn't see Tar, I assume.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, would you mind if I spoiled part of the movie?
Go for it.
And I guess people so
sorry, before you
yeah,
whenever
go
I hear
ahead.
Tar, I know what it is.
Yeah.
But my brain is always like, oh, Tasha Yar. Anyway.
Yeah, no, it's anyway, so I'm not gonna talk about the whole movie. I'm gonna talk about a specific segment of it. So if you're like, oh, I'm not gonna spoil the whole thing, I'm just gonna talk about one little thing in it. So she keeps an apartment in Berlin where she's, you know, a conductor, Lydia Tarr, the main character, and she has where she composes and stuff, and you kind of find out that in the movie it was like an apartment that she had when she and her now wife were at like a much, you know, more financially disadvantaged point in their lives, right? But she still like keeps it up. And across the hallway from her, there's like a middle-aged woman and her mother live there. And the middle-aged woman is like clearly in some kind of mental distress or, you know, something. And the mother is like, you know, quite old and so disabled. And there's a scene where, you know, she goes in and like the mother has fallen on the floor. And so she's to help this woman get her up and stuff. Right. And it's just this really, you know, and they live in this apartment that's like clearly people don't like, the windows are not open very often. It's like very stale looking and messy. And, you know, it's just in this kind of squalor, right? I think maybe it's after this or maybe it's later. At some point, she sees like an ambulance come and a stretcher come and take like someone out of the apartment, right? Mm-hmm. And then like a week later, you know, stuff is happening in between this. The sister of the woman who lives in the house, who is the landlord of the apartment complex, like shows up. And is like, hey, like, you know, would you be like, I don't know, is asking something about like renting out the space again. And there's just this like, it's mm-hmm. So like because a lot of that movie is about like this very public reckoning with bad things that happened, right? Mm-hmm. And there's also the sort of thing about like Berlin as a city that was the site, like, you know, the height of fascism in Europe in a specific period. And there's all this sort of like roiling anti-Semitism that's kind of under the surface of the movie. Mm-hmm. And so this like distance between these two apartments, right? The thing that is like hidden in the world is just like right on the other side. And this evil that like won't be confronted, that like the sister left her, this woman who owns the apartment, who is like wealthy, just like left her sister and mother to rot and die. Right. And that will never be exposed or shown, that it's just this thing that like haunts the space forever. Right. Anyway, so I just was thinking about that as we were talking about it a little bit. Right. That there's like sort of I think there is an element of like that suburbs or like the house is such a like welcoming or enclosing idea of something. But actually it's this image that's like rife with all this awful, horrible shit. And it's a place that we have to like, especially as like a child or someone who's like or, you know, as an elderly person, right, that you have to give yourself over to the care of this place that might at any moment like betray and kill you and hurt you. Right. And this like Twin Peaks has resonance with this too.
I was about to say, this is the shot of the fan and the stairs, right?
Yes. Right. Yes. Yeah. And so anyway, sorry to go off on like a whole tangent about this movie, good. But yeah, I just think it's like, it's such a cool and rich thing, horror. And I think anatomy, like all these things that we've talked about, like pull on similar themes in quite different ways, right? Like
For sure.
You know, yeah. Anyway, pretty cool. Tar's a cool movie. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The README for this game dedicates it to Shirley Jackson.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because in that as well, it's definitely like the house as a character.
For sure. Yeah.
And a specific history.
Yeah.
And I thought that was notable as well.
Yeah, I really should. I've never read Hill House or any Shirley Jackson,
really
and I
good.
should. Yeah, well, that was
There's a whole fucking multiple page summary of what the house looks like, and it's fucking amazing. It's so good. Just the outside of the house.
Well, that was like the thing is I read
good.
Danse Macabre, the Stephen King book about horror, which is mostly quite bad, except for the parts where he talks about a book that seems cool. And there's a whole section about Hill House, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds pretty cool. like, like King, I think you got this right. Like, this sounds like a pretty neat book,
It's really good. You should read it.
Yeah, I definitely should. I also compared it in this piece, which I mean maybe we could link in the description that I wrote my blog about. I compared it to The Lighthouse, which is a Virginia Woolf novel, and it's about this like, I mean not aristocratic necessarily, but wealthy family that has like a summer home on the Isle of Wight or something. I don't remember exactly where. And so the first section of the book is like them visiting it in like 1910 or pre-World War I, and then the middle section of the book is like a 10-year gap during which World War I occurs, right before they ever visit the house again. And so there's this long segment where it's like the house has been abandoned and stuff is starting to grow in it, and the whole thing is kind of from the perspective of the house, right? And so I sort of talk about that, and there's also some kind of like, I mean, not to... Wolf is certainly a complicated figure, but there's some, like, trans stuff happening into the lighthouse. There's sort of a mixing of male and female selves and stuff, and sort of as a contrast to this. Anyway, so this is to say, like, Anatomy's cool in part because it feels at once, like, it is very video gamey. It is, in fact, like, the most video gamey you can get, in some sense, right? Where it's, like, exploring an environment, and you're listening to audio logs, and you're doing the thing, but it also has this, like, very rich intertextuality and feels very engaged with like horror as like a broader thing in a way that is like not just mere homage, right?
If there's the actual only criticism I have of this game is that it should just have subtitles.
Oh yeah, sure.
That's a no. Also, but otherwise no notes.
Yeah, it's really good. I really recommend, like, even if you've listened to this podcast and you're like, oh, okay, I kind of have like a sense of what this is, like, you should play it. It's $3 on itch.io, and it takes a half hour. Like, I think that, and it's also, I'm sure you can run it on whatever you have. If you
run it on the Steam Deck that you bought.
Yeah, anyway, and it's just good. It's just really good. And I think you will... That's the thing, is it's evocative enough and strange enough that you will find things in it that we did not, right? That we did not think
for
about.
Sure.
And so it's well worth, I think, checking out.
There is a YouTube video, and in the comments, somebody transcribed the tapes and all the dialogue.
Oh, great. Yeah,
and I can just read this. Like, I can just pick this apart all day if I wanted to.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And it's just really good writing. So.
Yeah, I should really play more. I'm like kind of making a commitment. We'll see, but I just want to play more small stuff because I played I played Mr. Rainer Solve It Service, which came out this year. Which is maybe we should play an Ethrain game on the show. We'll talk about it. Anyway, it's fine. But so and that's I wrote about one of, I think, her games called Tomorrow Won't Come for Those Without Blank, which is really cool. And anyway, Mr. Rainer's is like one of the densest video games in terms of like understanding the plot and like setting and also just like thematic stuff. It's about like so much shit all at the same time. And it's like 2 hours.
Yeah.
You know? That is just like, it's like, it gave me a similar feeling. And actually, I mean, like, sometimes I feel like I play a game and it's like, why the fuck aren't more games like this? Or like, why isn't... And I think part of it with Mr. Rainer's especially is like, I just need to play more smaller shit and I'm gonna hit this feeling. And maybe, probably not all the time, right? There's plenty of bad stuff on itch.io, you know? But I'm gonna hit it more often if I do this, you know? And Kittyhorrorshow would probably be a pretty good place to start with that, you know?
For sure. This is definitely like the wave of like 2014, 2015 criticism where people who don't work in the industry are like, I'll just play itch games, and then, you know, you're like 10 games in and you're not getting paid for it, and you're like, none of the games have been notable so far.
Right. I mean, that's the thing, is like having to like dig through that stuff, and it's also really hard to find people who are like actively curating it for this reason, because it's hard to like, you know, and so much of like the apparatus of like indie, because there are like indie focus outlets and stuff, but a lot of that stuff ends up being focused on games that are like Hades sized or a little bit smaller, right, which is kind of a different zone than something like this. Anyway, I will have writing about Mr. Rainer's coming out soon, so check it out when it's up. But it's cool. I mean, I think it was also nice. It was cool to play Anatomy after Nanashi no Game, which, like, Nameless Game is so cool. It's really smart formally. It obviously is like kind of try it and whatever in a lot of ways, but it's like neat. And it's not that long. Like, it's like, I think it took me like 3 hours maybe. Yeah. You know? Same. It's not very long. But also it's like, man, like Anatomy does so much more with so much less. Right? Yeah, and that, like, that, I think sometimes you do also need that contrast, right? That it's like when you're developing taste and like thinking about things that you like, it's good to play stuff that's kind of bad or mediocre, because then you sort of get a feel of like what you value and what you're, you know. So that isn't to be like, every time you play something, it has to be like ultimate bang for buck. I think there's like ways to make that stuff like really worthwhile, right? But it's definitely also intimidating to like just look through a bunch of shit. I will say maybe we'll play this game in future because I like it. But there's a game, Marginalia, from kind of another one of these developers who's doing sort of horror games, like first-person horror games around the same time. And let me actually find it. But that's a really cool game, and I think has some resonances with this. Although it kind of is a very different approach. It's about just going in the woods, and there's weird shit there. You know? Connor Sherlock is this man's name. And I think he also does like a similar thing where it's like, I have a Patreon and you can check stuff out that I make.
Sorry, we read the word Connor Sherlock at the exact same time. I read it in my brain. And at first I thought it was like the name of the guy in the game, but it's not.
No, yeah. I'm quite fond of Marginalia. And I guess, I mean, full disclosure, Cameron Kunzelman worked on it, who's like acquaintance and colleague, you know, so like maybe I have some bias, I suppose, but it's cool.
I don't know him. I don't fucking know him. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, we're mutuals on Twitter. We're friendly. He retweets things that I say sometimes.
I don't know him. You don't know me, I don't know him. Anyway.
But yeah, I think that's it for now. I mean, we should go through emails, of course.
I meant to bring up earlier.
Go ahead.
For Nanashi no Game, definitely. Now that we're talking about range touch shit,
okay.
Definitely thought of, and more broadly for Nanashi no Game, just like creepypasta stuff. Especially like the Pokemon Black creepypasta.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Where it's like you get a copy of Pokemon and it's haunted, and it fucking you're evil for playing Pokemon or whatever. You find the ghosts of all the Pokemon you've killed or whatever, and they haunt you or whatever.
Yeah.
It just that sort of like meta layer of Nanashi no Game reminded me of very broadly like that stuff. Or
Yeah,
even like
yeah.
or even like Uncle who works at Nintendo or
Right.
stuff
Well, I mean,
like
there's the creepypasta I mean, not really familiar with, but know of and have, read a little bit stuff about is the Majora's Mask one. Ben Drowned, I think that's what that's called.
that. Yeah.
So yeah, I think sort of the idea, like, I think a digital object being haunted is like a cool, and it's such a, like, I wonder, like, I haven't seen like Unfriended, which some like vulgar auteur horror heads really like.
Wait, I think I've actually seen that.
Oh yeah. Because it's like, I mean, it's one of these movies. There's also like, there was that movie that came out during the pandemic, which is about like a haunted Zoom call. I don't remember what that's called. I think it's like Ritual or something. Anyway, so there's sort of a burgeoning genre. I mean, that's kind of continuing.
Which one have I seen? Friend Request. That's the
Friend
one I've
Request. But yeah, people like Unfriended, or some people. It's on Netflix apparently. So there's also Unfriended Dark Web.
Damn. There's a sequel?
Yeah.
Damn.
From the writer of The Grudge and Texas Chainsaw.
All right.
3D. Texas Chainsaw 3D, I should specify. Yeah, anyway. Yeah.
There's a twist in Friend Requests I'm trying to remember. It's like the fuck. I'm wasting so much time. I think it's like there's this creepy girl on Facebook, and the way that she has her name is formatted weird. And then the main character gets possessed, and then also changes her name on Facebook to be like a weird, like, name, like, oh fuck, what is it? I don't even.
I kind of struggle with like, I mean, even though I was just like, maybe Unfriended is good, I kind of struggle with like Facebook as horror for some reason. I'm just like, that's goofy. You poke people on that website. Like, I don't know, like.
You poke people. Oh, okay. So the haunted girl's name is Marina, but it's like on Facebook it's MA space RINA, and then Laura, who's the main character, gets haunted, and then she changes it to LA space URA or some shit.
That is endearingly stupid. That's pretty good.
It's so stupid.
Yeah, anyway, movies.
If I'm misremembering that, I don't care.
Yeah,
it's something like that.
Yeah, it's funny enough.
It's so funny.
I believe it.
Anyway, emails.
Emails.
Do you want to read the first one from M?
Yes, I do. So I remember being both delighted by the creakiness of the Nanashi no Game as a 3DS DS game, as a 3D DS game, not a 3DS DS game. Also kind of annoyed at the monsters in a way that feels really ahead of its time, given the wave of indie horror games that seemingly never ends now. How do you feel about a game's strict monster avoidance and how repeated cotton death cycles can rob a thing of its tension? So I feel like I kind of alluded to this in the main thing, because I do think that like the first time you're running from ghosts is pretty cool. And then every other time you're running from ghosts, you're kind of like, yeah, I did this before. And the stakes feel lower. Especially since I feel like the hospital, that's like a long section of game.
Yeah.
You know? Whereas like every other one, it is like a little bit shorter. Which is a fair decision. I understand why you do that. I'm not saying, make the game like more inconvenient and longer. you know.
Yeah.
But I do think it's kind of a format of design of this kind of thing that is like difficult to make really click.
Yeah, and for the Nanashi game, like the checkpoints are actually like pretty generous.
Yeah.
Especially the you go to like there's this like library section, and you pick up a report, and then a ghost jump scares you, and then you have to run away. And then I died during that, and it just put me back right before the chase sequence starts. So I was like, okay,
Yes,
well, it's
yeah.
not actually. I thought it would be like they start you back at like the beginning of the day, but it isn't.
Right.
It is not
No,
that cruel,
it's not.
fortunately.
Yeah, it's like when you go through the like shopping mall, it's like every floor resets you basically.
Yeah.
You know, and then I think once you hit big stuff, it'll like put you. So yeah, it's I don't know. I think the thing is it's not that inconvenient, right? But it's also in part because of that, it's not very scary. You know, ultimately, because I will say like I did get freaked out that first hospital chase. Like I did find that legitimately unsettling.
Yeah.
Right. I just think it's kind of tricky. It's a trick that like feels like you can only really use one time before it starts to like wear itself out. I don't know if that's quite fair, but that's definitely how I felt playing this.
For sure.
And I also haven't really played I haven't played Amnesia, or I haven't played like Outlast or any of these other games. And I do suspect I would find them at like base level just less charming than this. So, you know, and maybe we'll cover one of those sometime. Like, probably not for a long time, but maybe. So we'll kind of see. But yeah, I do think it's like I understand the idea that it's like, oh, it's scarier if you can't do stuff. And I kind of think that's not. I think that's part of actually what makes Anatomy cool is like, in order to like experience the game, you have to keep doing things that are going to put you further in danger of like being freaked out. Right. And I think that's really what you want the mindset you want to put your players in. Because I think about like, I mean, and this isn't a knock against Resident Evil, which I think also kind of has like a more campy tone. Like the horror aesthetic is a little less like, this is supposed to be scary and a little more like, we're having fun with zombies and stuff. But that's a game that I get stressed out playing, not one I really get scared playing. Right. Whereas I feel like Silent Hill, like the scares don't really come from the mechanical stuff. Although I think they do aid it. It's a lot from just like the, you know, from the way everything is aesthetically laid out and stuff like that, you know, is so key to, I think, what makes those games scary. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you have any other thoughts on this, but I think that's...
No, I like, unless like, I'm trying to think of games that have like a death cycle as like a mechanic of the game. Like it's not like exactly like it's a fail state, but it like actually
maybe we should
something to the
maybe
game.
we should play Eternal Darkness, because that's a game that I think does play with like death in kind of a way like that, where it's like
the only thing that I have on top of mine is fucking Hellblade, and I'm not counting that. So
I mean, I guess that it's technically a horror game.
But yeah, because otherwise, like modern Resident Evil is very much like AAA. Like you're going from set piece to set piece, and you know you're fighting enemies, but you know there's specific set piece moments that they want you to experience, and the tension kind of comes from experiencing those moments rather than engaging with kind of any gameplay system outside of combat.
Yeah, I'm curious about... I really should play it, because I haven't touched 7 or 8, so...
Yeah.
I'm curious about them. I don't have, like, a take, but... Yeah. All right, do you want to read Ina's question here? Or 2 questions?
Wait, speaking of death
ahead.
cycles, that part in fucking Layers of Fear where you fucking trigger the baby smashing their head in every time. Anyway, that's a fun death cycle. You can think of it as one. Yeah. From Ina.
Blooper Team... Well, I just say I feel like they would be better off making like a haunted house attraction in like some podunk town. I feel like that would be the better use of their talents than doing this. Anyway, go ahead. read the question.
God, they made a Blair Witch game and it's about the fucking troops. Anyway, what classic game would you like to have as a haunted companion that you got to constantly dip into and solve puzzles in the real world?
I feel like that's a good question. Classic game. I was thinking about this as like games we covered, and then I'm like, no, wait, this is open. This is more open than that.
Yeah, for me, it's a rhythm game. You do this is like the Luigi's Mansion thing of singing to yourself while you're being haunted. So you're just like, chilling out to a rhythm game, and then you come back to the real world, and it's less haunted, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I would do like, I don't know, like Mario Galaxy or something. I want something, because I kind of like I guess if I'm going to be haunted, I'm in it for the vibes, And so I would want to have like something that I like I like the kind of melancholy tone that the cursed game has in this. And so I'd want something that kind of has that, a little bit of that vibe. I could be haunted by Majora's Mask also. That'd be cool. It's a cool game to get haunted by.
If you had to be some kind of thing that humans like to be inside of so you can eat them, like a dwelling or a vehicle, what would you choose to be? The first half of that question had some very horny energy to it. Sorry.
I mean, sure. The first place my mind jumped to is not horny, but was like, what could I be that could most conveniently eat rich people? Right? So like, I don't know, like a ski lift or like a plane or something.
Yeah.
A
like
sauna.
A private jet. Yeah.
Or something, yeah, like that's kind of what I would be. The thing is, the tricky thing about private jet is like, you can only eat one guy and then the plane's haunted. Right? Then everyone knows the plane's haunted and they're not going to use the plane anymore. Right? I feel like I don't know how you keep the bit going. How do you keep eating people?
If you
know?
Okay, but if you could be one private jet, you could just kill Elon Musk in Minecraft and then you're good. That's your one.
Yeah.
It'd be great. Or like choose one,
Right, yeah.
Make it count.
Right. Fair enough. Okay, fair enough. That's true, because you do get like, because it's like, if you do like a sauna or whatever, it's like you're kind of, there's a little bit more random chance in terms of like who comes in that you can eat,
Yeah. Or you could do like a mansion or like a venue that rich people go
right.
to, and you get, you just Agent 47 that shit,
Yeah, right.
But like,
you just
a
drop a
huge
chandelier.
swath of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's so yeah, I guess that's the space I'm kind of exploring to answer this question. Do you have a different thought here?
I just think it's a private jet,
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
It's got more than one seat. You could get lucky.
That's true.
What's your least favorite band you don't want to hear make music again?
Oh, that's a good question. Anyway, let's should we move on? I don't know if I have a band I would eat. There's a lot of good answers though.
There's a lot of good answers. All right. Not gonna say anything else before we are liable to whatever happens.
Yes. Oh God, can you imagine? All right. Anyway,
90 minutes into a 2-hour podcast.
We're cursing whoever's private jet. Okay. So we have a question from Emrys. So looking at the game you covered this year, please rank them by the following criteria. I think we'll just go criteria by criteria.
Okay.
And so the first one is scariest moment or sequence.
Going into the basement in Anatomy. and having the draw
Yeah.
distance be 0.
Yes, that's good.
Where you walk across the room and you're like, how has the room not ended yet?
Yeah. Oh. I think that's probably the thing is it's kind of different. I think about the confession scene in Silent Hill 3 all the time, and that's a little bit different than it's not really scary, but that is like my favorite thing. Like one of my favorite things in a video game ever. You know. Let's see. I'm like trying to think of all. So Anatomy number 1. Also watching the videotape in Silent Hill 2, that's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Um
I'm partial to the way Silent Hill 4 opens.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
It's fucking scary.
Totally. Here, I'm gonna go into the dock here, and I'm gonna put Anatomy. Silent Hill 2, Silent Hill 4, Silent Hill 3, and actually, I think above Silent Hill 3, I'm gonna put Silent Hill 1, because that opening scene in Silent Hill 1 is creepy as fuck, with the camera freaking out. That shit is great. Okay, I think The Thing is dead last, actually. I'm gonna put Luigi's Mansion above that.
Luigi's Mansion scarier than The Thing video game. You heard it here first.
Let's see. What else have we covered? Is there...
Fragile Dreams.
Fragile Dreams. Does that go above or below Luigi's Mansion, do you think? Because I did not find that game scary, and it's not really supposed to be. It's kind of a different tone.
I think it's below.
Yeah. Okay. I'm cool with that. Alrighty. Okay, so then the next criteria, and that's everything, right? We got everything?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Spookiest, creepiest soundtrack. I don't know. I mean, it's got to be Silent Hill. It's got to be top dog here, right? Anatomy doesn't really have music.
No. Neither of those is a thing.
Yeah, so both of those we can drop. Fragile Dreams. I think Fragile Dreams is dead last here just because it's not...
It's like very like whimsical, you know?
Yeah, it's not scary music.
Luigi's Mansion kind of just has bops.
Yeah, it kind of just has bangers.
I mean, so does Silent Hill, but like...
Right. It's sort of a different...
There's two sides to a coin with Silent Hill soundtracks.
Yeah. I think Silent Hill 2 is maybe my pick here. Although I am having a little bit like I feel like they're all blending together a little bit for me, which is, you know what's fucking good in Silent Hill 3? We already talked about this on the episode, but in Silent Hill 3 when you're in the car and they're singing the damn song, that shit's amazing.
It's so good.
Yeah, I don't know if you watched Jack's Countdown podcast, but that's my favorite Silent Hill. I decided on live on air on that. That's the one for me.
Maybe this is like bias for being less familiar with it, but like I think 4 might be sound design wise scariest. Minus the monster noises.
Yeah. I could see that.
The ambience and like
I could see that.
It's just way more aggressive than the other.
Yeah, well, there's a little bit more like I mean, again, because there's sort of the found footage influence, right? It has kind of that like tactile sound design to it. Yeah, I'll listen. I'll put that below Silent Hill 2. You know, I think that's for the official ranking. You could fight with me on this. That's fine. And then I guess I'll put Silent Hill below 3. but I don't know if I feel like the thing is, you could put any of the Silent Hills at number 1, and I would be like,
Yep.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, totally.
What makes 3 your favorite?
I think it's just my bullshit.
Fair enough.
But also, I think I just like Heather a lot. I mean, part of it is that like she's like the most sympathetic protagonist. You know, and I just like the way I just like the interface with that stuff. I think like the kind of like the way that game is like really, really sad in a way that's like kind of, I mean, 2 is really sad, but it's kind of has a different tenor to it, right? Because it's all your fault. Like, you fucked up, dude. Like, you know, you did an awful thing, and now you are like in the hell, you know. Whereas 3, it's just like you were born into circumstances outside of your control, and that is like destroying your life. And that it's just real. I just think that stuff is really poignant and well done. So I think that's the one for me. Yeah, and it also just helps that it's like, because I don't like, I like some of the cult stuff in 1, and in fact, there's some of the like, I really like the way, I feel like there's a lot of horror about Christianity or sort of Christianity adjacent that's either like kind of conservative in tenor, right? Where it's like, or it's kind of like, oh, Christianity's like spooky scary because they believe in fairy tales or whatever, which I'm like really tired of. But like Silent Hill is like, hey, like, isn't the virgin birth kind of scary? And you're like, yeah, actually, it kind of is, isn't it? Like, you know, it like feels like it's actually considering some of the stuff in a serious way, right? So which I appreciate. But 3 kind of feels like it does do that still, but it has this like real emotional, there's this emotionality to it that 1 does not have, right?
Yes.
So I think that's what kind of leaps it ahead of that for me.
Yeah, makes sense.
Also, I like women more than men. So
That's fair.
which is it's personal bias, you know.
Yeah. That scene. Heather, go ahead and kill this crazy bitch. That scene's so good.
It's good.
You're not taking this religion seriously. And he's just like, I fucking built this shit.
Yeah.
This church you're in is mine. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's
Well,
so
I like
good.
that too. I like the interfaith conflict stuff is just
It's
good.
so
And
good.
like the way that she feels all this sorrow and remorse for the stuff that she's doing, that she feels like she has to do. I think that that's just like,
Yep.
yeah, again, and that's the stuff. This is just things that I'm interested in, right? And that like I want to have in my own fiction should I get around to it, right? And stuff. So it's just, you know, this hole, it was made for me. Okay, most terrifying enemy. Okay, here's
the wheelchair.
all right. I'm gonna put Silent Hill 4 down as kind of a barometer. As like kind of the middle of the pack, right? And then I think the question is, is Luigi's Mansion or The Thing the last one?
I think it's Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah, I think that's right. I like some of the enemy designs in The Thing. And then I might put No Game above
Hold on.
Silent Hill 4. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I think I changed my mind. I think it's Luigi's Mansion and then The Thing last.
Okay. What? Give me your case.
Because most of the enemies are just a guy with a thing head.
That's true. That's true. There's that freaky baby in Luigi's Mansion, you know. All right, I'm very easily swayed.
Are just they're just more memorable.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I think it would be easy to be like Pyramid Head is the most terrifying enemy. I don't know. I think I'm put Silent Hill above Silent Hill 4. I think we can agree on that.
Wait, why?
I don't know. I guess I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think. Like, what's the single most terrifying enemy in Silent Hill? What's the one?
In all the games?
Yeah.
I genuinely right now feel like it's the twins from 4.
That's fair. That's fair. Those guys are scary.
Those guys are scary, and they fucking bolt at you.
Because I was realizing I was kind of going at it from the wrong angle, because it's not like most terrifying set of enemies.
Right.
It's most terrifying enemy. Right.
Yeah.
Whereas like I think Silent Hill 4 in terms of like enemy sets is a little bit weaker.
It's weak, but the ones that are good are fucking good.
Yes, yeah. No, that's I'm with you. I don't know if this qualifies, because you don't ever like fight or encounter this enemy, but like the man in Silent Hill 3 who's like controlling who like winds the crank and is just kind of around in some of the background stuff.
Yeah.
That guy freaks me out. I don't know if that really qualifies. I think he's at the end because he like sews up God or whatever, right? Is like putting that together. But I don't know if that really counts as an enemy. But I think that guy's pretty freaky. He's up there.
Is this the same guy who like drags Heather back to the save point when she dies or whatever?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe.
Okay.
We
didn't talk about that.
Yeah, I guess like did I?
Sometimes you die and a guy drags you back to the save point. It's super funny.
Yeah.
It's really creepy, but it's the actions on the screen are scary. The lore is super funny.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Is it Silent? I don't know. Do we want to put Silent Hill above 3? Is it like descending? Is it 4, 3, 2, 1? And then I think I would put Fragile Dreams below Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, I mean, the enemies in that game are like Big Dog.
Yeah.
Protester monster. It's just there's just not a lot there. Which is, again, I feel like Fragile Dreams is coming up low on this list. None of this is a negative. Like, that game is good.
No.
It's just these are not the strong points of it, right? I just want to be clear about that.
Okay. We need to bolt past best save room because we need a wrap.
Okay. Well, so Anatomy doesn't have a safe room.
No.
Neither does No Game.
4. I mean, it has to be 4, right?
Yeah,
Silent 4.
Silent Hill 4, I think, does take it. Yeah.
But it's not safe. But it, you know what we mean.
I think it's yes, yeah. I think it fits the it's on the TV tropes page for safe room. It fits the criteria.
Shut the fuck
I
up.
would say.
Boo.
Silent Hill. I think Silent Hill 3. I mean, the thing is, there's not really safe rooms in Silent Hill generally, outside of the room. Yeah. But I think Silent Hill 3, the like symbol that you save at, I think that's really cool and
the
creepy.
safe room. The safe room. What is a symbol that activates your brain?
Yes. Yeah.
Is just a thing in Silent Hill.
Yeah. I like, you know what, and then maybe I might put Fragile Dreams actually below Silent Hill 4 because I like the campfires. I mean, it's
they're
classic,
neat,
but like I think those are cool. So maybe that's where this shines, is in that category. Does that cover it? Basically, I think.
Yeah.
All right.
The thing you fucking saves come through it.
That is the worst game we've played easy, like no question. And I don't hate it. It's
I
fine.
do.
All right, so we're hosted on the Admiral Mapping Network, and we have a Twitter that's at Podcast Safe Room, and we have a Discord, and the link you can find at spookygame.club, and that's also where you find our RSS feed and list of episodes, and you can listen in your browser if you wanted to do that, I guess. And you can send us questions just like all these fine folks did at questions@spookygame.club. Rose, where can people find you on twitter.com?
Bluest Rose 430.
You can find me on twitter.com at Grace_Machine. Oh, I'm also on co-host at Grace-Machine. And you can find other stuff that I do at my website, graceandthemachine.com. And I'm not going to plug anything else because it would take forever.
Is that it?
I think that's
Wait,
it.
we have to figure out what we're doing next time. Fuck.
Oh, God.
We'll do this
wanna
off.
do-
We'll do this off pod. We'll do this off pod.
Okay.
We'll
all right.
post it later. Future Rose here. It's Dino Crisis. We're doing Dino Crisis.
All right, sounds good.
It's the beginning of the. It's the beginning of. It's in the middle of the month. We have time. We have time.
That's true. We do have time. Anyway.
Anyway, rip Angelo Battlementi. See you next time.
True. God.